the experts are starting to get pretty public on something I've been saying for a couple of years, and I love saying I told you so, and this is one. That we have some big-time economic problems facing us if we don't deal with a major social problem that has been building and building and building for decades. What is the problem? America's low labor participation rate. Now, you hear me talk about this on the program all the time, and that is that we are at a historically low unemployment rate. And that is obviously a good thing. 3.4% in January, dropped another tenth of a percentage point from 3.5 to 3.4. This is the lowest level in more than 50 years. But Dr. Samuel Gregg sees eye to eye with me. He's a distinguished fellow. That's what I want to be once. I just want one time for somebody to go, we're happy to have Ken Coleman, a distinguished fellow. I kid, only sort of. He's a distinguished fellow at the American Institute for Economic Research, and he went on social media recently and said the employment number that should concern Americans is our abysmal labor participation rate. So the unemployment number is really good, 3.4%, but our labor participation rate is very poor. In other words, the amount of workers, or should I say, eligible workers, who have stopped looking or have just said, nope, I'm not even interested in working. The way he said it was, Americans have stopped looking or decided that they don't want to work or cobbled together enough forms of welfare rather than work. More on that in a second. He calls this a social and economic disaster, and Dr. Samuel Gregg is, in fact, correct. Rachel Gressler, a senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, said that the 20 to 24-year-old age group has had the greatest decline in employment, particularly men in that age group. And these are young men and old boys. Let's just be clear. There's a lot of immaturity in that 20 to 24-year age group. In this group, it's men, it's boys. It's not women and girls. It's men and boys in this age group. Employment is down 10.5% since 2000. Now, the labor participation percentage for the 20 to 24-year-old young men peaked in 2000. That was the highest it had ever been. Now it's down 10.5%. Now, this is what Gressler said. When you talk about people who are kind of displaced from the education or worker experience routes that otherwise they would have gone into, and now instead they're just idling at home, living with mom or dad, or maybe in a group setting, or able to live off welfare benefits, they're not getting the experience and education they need. So I think it's really troubling going forward that we could see this have a long-term impact. There's no question about this, folks. This is serious. There's no question that one of the culprits of this 20 to 24-year-old young men demographic not working, not even interested in working, they've quit looking for it, and they're not interested in going to work, is government benefits. There's no question that the welfare state is a part of this, but I don't want to spend most of my time on this because, quite frankly, maybe I've just gotten so frustrated with welfare and what it actually does to people that I've just kind of given up because I don't trust our politicians to actually do anything positive. So my input is going to be not political, and it's going to be social. The question becomes, when you look at data like this, the question becomes, why are so many young men age 20 to 24, not working. That's the many hundreds of millions and billion-dollar question. And here's the simple answer. Why are so many young men aged 20 to 24 not working? Because they don't have to. Daddy, mama, grandparents, aunts and uncles, siblings, friends are supporting them. The combination between those close network people and government benefits have put these young men in a place where they just look at the picture and they go, well, if I look at the numbers and I go out and I work X amount of hours a week and I can make this versus I've got this being provided to me, the trade-off isn't worth getting out and going to work. It's that simple, folks. This is not a mystery. And so here's the really, really troubling reality. We see from data that of this 20 to 24-year-old young male demographic that aren't at work, the majority of those are young men that don't have a college degree. Now, some of you hear that and go, well, see, I told you, Ken, that's why people need a degree. No, wrong conclusion. Because if you flip it, those young men that do have a college degree are the most likely to call themselves a quiet quitter, where they're just like, I'm just going to do the bare minimum to get by. We have a crisis in both groups. Well, let's go back to this group that's not working at all. Why are they not working beyond that they don't have to? What are they reporting to the pollsters? Here's the very interesting response. They don't have the status that they think they deserve or that they thought they could get, meaning obviously making money and the type of work that they would like to do. And so because they've not attained it, they've given up. Now, there's a couple of culprits. First, because the cultural message in America for decades has been the best way to success is through a college degree, and you've got young men coming up and they couldn't go to college because they, for low-income families maybe, or from families that just didn't want to do the student loans or couldn't do it or whatever have you is the situation, because they couldn't afford to go to school, they didn't, and they immediately began to realize, oh, I've been told my whole life that this is the best way to success. I can't do it, so I don't have much opportunity at all. Why even try? That's the first culprit. The second one, they don't have anything to look forward to that they want to do with their life. We got to address this, folks, and I'm here to do it.